Well, we now come to the Book of Ezra in the Old Testament. This is a shorter book compared to the previous ones we've just done several videos on. And I've titled this, Rebuilding Your People's Faith. You know, every business and every church and ministry through the years will be an ebb and flow of issues, opposition, difficulty. It could be related to financial issues, people issues, government legislation changes, local council changes. Man, it can be just about anything. And Ezra was one of those who led a second group of the nation back from captivity to rebuild the temple of worship. Nehemiah was the other one, and we'll hear about him as well. And, you know, when Ezra took this second group, because the first group had gone, faced enormous opposition, tremendous opposition, fierce, and to the point where that opposition just didn't want them to rebuild the temple, so they got the king back in Babylon, the enemy, so to speak, of this people in captivity, to actually send a letter to stop them doing the work. So Ezra comes with this second group, and but he displayed, both he and Nehemiah, a tenacious attitude. They were not going to be put off by this discouragement and this opposition. Even though the people with him were easily deflected by it, they weren't. And, you know, three key things come out of this first video of connecting faith to each book of the Bible. And one is, Ezra was a teaching leader. He operated in the gift that he had, not in areas that he wasn't strong in. He led by his word gifts. He organised, directed and provided vision for the people. He shepherded those who were prone to wander, and if you look through all these books, you know, the Old Testament, man, the people wandered fairly easily, but in the end we wander as well. We get distracted by unimportant things that we make a priority. We've got to stay with the main game and not be distracted like they were. And maybe they wanted to be, so they weren't in this fierce, or the opposition, in front of that opposition of fierce fighting. But he used his teaching gift, Ezra, to lead the people back to where they belong spiritually. You know, they had a purpose, design, directed by God, and he wanted to lead them back to that, which he was able to do. And number two, Ezra worked to his strength, and so should we. And I've learnt we can look like we want to do everything, but we don't have the gifting in every area of business or church life, and we need to be able to take our strengths and build on those and resource our weaknesses. I learned if I got people who were good in areas that I was weak in, they made everyone look better, they made the business, the church grow and move forward. And number three, both courage and fear are contagious. You see, both groups of people that came back, and then again in this instance with Ezra, they faced this you know, or easily to get fearful of these people who were threatening them. And it wasn't just words of threat. I mean, it was violent and like setting out to almost create a war to stop this work going ahead. But Ezra was courageous, and through that courageous, he was contagious. But fear is contagious as well, very much like courage. And he was able to not have fear, whereas the people developed the fear because of the threats. He was able to rebuild them up, so his courage was contagious. And in times of conflict, leaders must act decisively. In these type of situations, you need to put your foot down and say, this is what we're going to do, let's move forward together, here's how we're going to do it. And, you know, if workers are to work hard, which is what we always want them to do in our churches and businesses, leaders must inspire them and not be deflected by unimportant things, criticism from media, social media, from opposition, competitors, even friends, and other employees. We are not to be deflected by that, but we must inspire people to go forward and rebuild our people's faith.